Hello, everybody, and welcome to this class within the Winning Sales Strategy course. This is actually going to be an amazing class because of a few reasons. The first is that the content, what we're about to share with you guys, is game-changing stuff. But the person sharing the content is actually, maybe it's just because he's my friend, but also probably because you should be starstruck right now if you're in this class. I've got Pat Clark with me. Currently, you might know him as co-owner and chief training officer at Bright Brothers, but that's just where he's at now. To get here, Pat Clark had Precision Pro Wash as a company, built it up. Greenville, North
Yep.
Carolina.
Yeah.
Licensed it out to all sorts of other areas. So there's Precision Pro Washes all over the place, following Pat's recipe. Pat has been a Conquer coach and taught people tons and tons of super valuable things, coached people into success for years. Like, just incredibly bright mind, brilliant, and a good teacher, which is, of course, going to come into play today. Also, just other things that you might know about him. He's Gutter Butter, founder of Gutter Butter, founder of Sales Boost. If you've ever been to Sales Boost, nowadays it's being run by JC and Angela, but Pat set the stage for all of it. And like a lot of entrepreneurs, the guy just constantly got a new idea. So he's letting ideas be taken over by other people. But Bright Brothers is the current thing. Pat, did I miss anything? I mean, I feel like we could go on and make this whole class just about Pat Clark.
No, that's it, man.
That's all there is. Okay, cool. So, Pat, we've put together a slide deck just to keep us on track today because you and I both are really passionate about this subject, and we have a tendency to want to just talk and talk and talk. So I've put together, based on some of the stuff that we've talked about before, I want to talk about the technician mindset and how people get in their own way. So would you mind sort of sharing with everybody who's here? Let's set the stage for what we see most commonly in the cleaning industry.
Yeah, and we see this a lot when we start businesses, right? We aren't that CEO yet in our company. You might be starting off smaller, with a couple employees, and we have that technician mindset of we have to do the work. We have to be the guy doing the thing. And so, we get trapped in this technician mindset, as a business owner, that we have to do it. Nobody can do it better than me, right? We've all heard that. And it's just simply a lie, that we're actually telling ourselves that we have to be the guy, and we don't. We get trapped in this. We get to be the nice guy. And, when we're growing our businesses, we don't have to be the guy, talking to the customers. There are people that will do it better than we can, right? There are people better than us as a technician, better than us as a salesperson. We're going to dive into these different things, but I think the technician mindset is the biggest one, that really brings us down, that we have to be that guy. And the reality is, it doesn't say .org at the end of our website, right? And what I mean by that is we have to make a profit. And for you, to be doing all the things and wearing all the hats, it's very hard to do that. And so, when you're getting out of that technician mindset, if you will, you start hiring the right people, you start putting in systems, and you start thinking like a CEO, because, when you are that technician, you have the lack of confidence that, who's going to learn from me, right? We start looking at those mindsets of, I'm not good enough, or I was never a manager before. And I went through all those things, and I had to level myself up as that technician mindset and just keep moving into it. And I think that's the biggest thing, with growing the business, that technician mindset. Would you agree, Curt?
Yeah, you just got me thinking, actually. I was going to ask you,
Mm-hmm.
could it be that, like, I was thinking about Michael Gerber in the E-Myth Revisited. He talks about
Yeah.
people start the business because, like, they're like, this doofus that I'm working for, he's screwing up the business. I know better. Then they start their company and they find out, oh, business isn't just about being a technician. But could it be, and I'm truly just posing a question that I just thought of as you were talking. Could it be that being a technician is your superpower and your kryptonite at the same time?
For sure. I believe it is, because you could be really good at a technician and you can enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. And, I was that guy. I like that. I like to be the guy on there. I could run circles around the 20-year-olds I was hiring. And it was my kind of kryptonite too, because I wanted to go out in the field. I would rather do the easy thing. And what I mean
Yeah.
by that, and this is huge, the CEO stuff, looking at the P&L, the boring, not sexy stuff. I could be out making the customer happy and not thinking about that and just get the job done and be done for the day.
Yeah.
That's the easy stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where you're saying that Kryptonite comes in because, yes, I love getting out in the field and I like, leading by example. And I'll get out in the field and I'll show them spray techniques and I'll do it. Do it for a time. That should be a very
Yes.
small percentage of what you are doing as a CEO in your company.
Which is ironic with your current role, right? That's literally what you're doing is I'm operating at a higher level, training, but I'm doing it from the higher level instead of going down into the trench and burying yourself. So, okay.
Yeah.
So now that we've kind of covered this, the next thing I want to talk to you about is, let's see here, the struggle bus. And so the technician mindset sort of, I've heard you talk so many times about what comes with the struggle bus of being a technician mindset. Can you sort of lay the groundwork for what someone might sometimes it's hard to self-identify. That's what I'm trying to say. Can you help someone to sort of identify if they're on the struggle bus?
Yeah. So, and this brings me back to, when I was going through the stages of business, when I was growing precision and, I was on the struggle bus because I was hiring the wrong people. So like I was the technician, and I was hiring my friends, right? I was being the nice guy. And it was tough because I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I was just doing what I think to grow the business was I needed people, right? And we were bleeding in other areas, but I was like, no, we need to hire people, right? And it's like, where's that money coming from? But we weren't focusing on like the marketing, right? I was getting busier, but I was really on a struggle bus because I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a strategy. I was just more reactive than proactive. So if you're that person that is being more reactive, right, putting out fires, or hey, we got so much work, I need to hire these people, but then you have a lot of touch-ups. The training isn't there, right? Your guys are frustrated. They're like, man, we don't have the support here. Those kinds of things. I had to level my business up as well as myself. So what that meant was I had to get a shop, right? I was working out of, a small office. My trucks were, behind in the RV parking of my apartment complex, right? And we just didn't look like a real business. And so to level that stuff up so people can come and feel confident in you as a business owner and as a company, right? Like, would you hire yourself, right? Like, you got to think about it.
That's a that's a
And when
tough
you're on the
question.
struggle bus, Kurt, you're like, I ain't working for that company, right? Like, they don't have the
Yeah.
safety in there. They don't have the, insurance, whatever it may be, right? You got to go through these steps and you got to level yourself up. And I wouldn't take it anything back, man, because I went through a lot of struggles, but iron sharpens iron because when you go through those things, like go through it. Don't just throw your hands up, right? You got to go through those things and sharpen your blade because that's going to, project you further into the business world, if you will, when you start getting above the $1 million mark.
So
So
the
that's,
title of the title of this class is to become the curator for a customer. We're going to get into the curating, but from a sales perspective, what does it look like to be in this on the struggle bus? Just because the thing is that most people who are in the field all the time, bids are what they do right before they go home or go out and give a couple quotes, mix it into their day. I don't know if you got time, that phase of business. And then there's other people who've graduated to like getting a sales team, but they don't really know. Yeah, there's all the in-betweens there. Can you sort of identify what
yeah.
people might point to and go, "Oh, I'm suffering in my sales department."
Yeah, so you got your first sales guy, right? But you've never been a sales manager before. You're kind of outgoing doing quotes and everything seems to be going good. You got the leads coming in, he's doing the quotes, but then all of a sudden your technicians are like, dude, you undersold this job. They're there for longer time than they need to be. The sales guy you do have actually isn't a sales guy. He might have been a technician before, and he's like, well, that only took me 20 minutes. It's going to be $30. And you're like, you're not checking the quotes. So you could be in the sales position, right, where you're managing, you got a guy going out there, but you just don't know how to lead him. You don't know how to track him because you really didn't track yourself. And I see this happen a lot, Kurt, is where people are like, dude, I need a sales guy. I need to go train technicians, but I need somebody doing the sales. And you just get whoever you can to put in that position. Might be a friend, a family member, a lead technician that you're like, dude, just hop in there. Well, what happens is, you turn into the struggle bus on the sales side because they're underbidding jobs or they're over promising work. Hey, Mrs. Smith, yeah, we can get this looking brand new. We're going to go ahead and strip the deck and everything. And then he charges them the cleaning price. And you're like, oh my word, they're there for 8 hours. They made 120 bucks. Not gonna happen, right? I've seen this, guys. I've seen this. I've been to a lot of businesses on site, off
Oh,
site, and
yeah.
it becomes this rolling nightmare. So you really need to have systems, and we're going to talk about this on the curator side, right? But you need to have systems and accountability for that salesperson. You need to approve their quotes, right? And we're going to talk about all this stuff, but you have to have systems in there because at this point, you're on the struggle bus. You don't know what to do. The sales are down, your prices are down. You might be getting the work, but you sure can't do the work because you're over promising it.
Yeah, I remember a story you telling too about how, and we're going to get into the curator side of how you do all of this,
Mhm.
but you have a way of being able to help the customer to identify that we're going to have everything set on the same clean date, right? And I think that when we learn that strategy, a lot of people's eyes are going to open up.
Mm.
But the opposite of it is that I think that you can identify if you're on the struggle bus. If a customer calls you out and says, I need this done, and then you walk out there like a drone, and you're like, you require a house cleaning, I will give you a house cleaning price because you know best, right? Like that's, I think, another identifier from what I've heard you say in the past is that if you walk out there knowing all the things you know and then you revert to just whatever the customer asks for, it must be what they need. That's
Yes.
another big identifier. That's usually, to me, that usually means you got too many places to go, too many people to see. You don't have enough time to actually give customers what they really truly want. So the way you medicate is you give them what they ask for. And not only leaving a ton of money on the table, but your system is about as inefficient as it can possibly be when you do that. And the customer ends up getting the short end of the stick too.
Yeah. And your quotes are less than 15 minutes. Your guys are in there, they're like $450 today, right? Because it's windy. And
Yeah.
then they're just giving one price, right? You called for just this. And you are that order taker, and you see these guys where they just don't have the training and they're like, whatever the customer wants, right? Don't go out of that. And that's the reality, right? Like your sales guy isn't really a sales guy. He's an order taker and he's giving one price. He's there for 15 minutes. There's a lot that goes into that for sure.
Okay. Well, let's take this information that you've just given us and let's push that into what it means to be a curator. Now we'll get into the actual how-tos in a minute, but let's talk about sort of the guiding principles, we'll say.
Yes, you're the
Okay.
curator, baby. This is where it happens.
So what does that look like? What I mean, maybe before you even get to the job site. I don't know. When does it start?
Yeah, so it really starts with training. I think it starts at the back of your office, right, with training because you got to take the lead. So if you can think of, the customer journey, if you will, right? To be the curator starts with answering the phone, right? Like you got to have empathy. You got to be level 7 excitement. And so when you are answering that phone, you have to put cues in their mind. And, with Bright Brothers, we have a whole call center, right, that does this. So you have to have systems, but it didn't start there, right? It started with me answering the phone. Hey, how can I help you? Right. And I learned by doing, and you really need to look at your customer journey now. And then we're going to really dive into what that journey should look like. And so when you are answering the phone, um, you have to do it with great intention that you are going to do these things while you're there. You have to set it up that the meeting is going to be X, amount of time right from the
Hmm.
get-go, right? That way you don't
Yeah.
show up and they're like, "Oh, I got a meeting," right? Or I got to run and you're out on the front yard like, "Oh, it's okay. I'm going to measure. I'll email you the quote."
Hmm.
Garbage, right? We're not on the struggle bus anymore. You are the curator. You run the meeting, period. right? The customer doesn't dictate how you do business. It makes me so angry inside. You're going to see some passion come out, Curt.
Yeah, I
But it
see
does,
that.
right? Like you can't let the customer dictate how you do business. No. You say, Curt, you're like, hey, how familiar are you with Bright Brothers process?
Uh, I don't know anything about it. I'm a homeowner that likes to watch, sitcoms out and binge Netflix. I don't know anything about your
Perfect.
company.
Hey, not a problem. You got a couple minutes to go over that?
Uh, if you need me to, sure. What's up?
Yeah, I just want to walk you through the process so you, are at ease with everything that's about to happen, so we can get you a detailed quote and proposal, so you can make an educated decision.
That sounds great. I'll just take a
Perfect.
quick pause here. When you did that to me, it made me not feel like when you come to my house and you're like, all right, let me just look around. Like, am I supposed to follow you around? Am I supposed to, like, you made it very clear to me. Do you have a few moments? Do you know about our process? Like, you made it so that it not only didn't feel awkward,
Yeah.
but I was being drawn into I'll just say an experience or however you would put it. But basically, we're
The
in a
process.
dialogue at this point, and when you said, "Do you want to know this stuff?" I know how I'm going to be engaging with you, and it reminds me of the fact that the word curator, usually when it's used, you'll usually hear about a curator of a museum or of an art gallery. A curator is someone who decides what's going to hang on the wall, what's going to get displayed, how much space we're going to give it, what lights are going to be pointing at it. I am determining how people are going to experience this museum or this art gallery. That's usually what we mean by it. But I actually felt that just now, and we were just role playing, and I felt at that
Yeah.
moment like, okay, the light is shining here. I am going to sit here. This is what it's going to be. And you created space around it too. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, all right, you said you wanted a house washing. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
How long? Do I have time to go take a shower or like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. You have no
Okay.
idea. Every quote is different, right? So you got to put your feet in their shoes. So you are creating that process for them. That way it's a smooth process, right? Because you come into the human aspect. There's dogs, there's kids, there's a lot of variables that come in. Well, if they know the steps that you're about to take, right? You're going to go into the home. You're going to do a little presentation. You're going to walk around the home. You're going to take the measurements, right? And that's another thing. There's people that are bidding over, the internet. They're never showing up. They don't look at their house. Like there's a lot in that. So you need to create your process and it needs to be streamlined for them. So, now we're at the house, we're doing the walk around. Now we're going to look at everything. And I think this is the biggest thing, right? Is
Okay. Yeah.
customers don't know what they don't need, right? They see that the backside of their house is turning green and that their wife wants the pool deck cleaned. Great, right? But I noticed as the professional that the gutters need whitening, right? Hence gutter butter, baby. But
Get it
they
in
need
there.
whitening. They need window cleaning. They need their back shed, right? Why not quote everything so it has the same anniversary date? Look, this rings true for a lot of homeowners. They don't want to think about this every year. They don't want to get 3 quotes every year. You know, they want to have everything have the same anniversary date. And the women love this, guys. Okay. When you start saying same anniversary date and you start, talking about the Gucci purse over the Mike LaCour's purse, you know what I mean? Like they're going to get all crazy. So you have to associate with these different things. Okay. And so you quote everything. And we're going to talk about the bundle pricing and all that stuff. But, this is a process and how you pitch it is makes you the curator because you're setting the stage for what we're about to show you.
So when you set me up by saying, do you have time to learn about our process? Like, do you have time that I can sit down and talk to you about our process? Is
Hmm.
that happening outside the house? Are you trying to get inside the house at that point? How are you
Yeah,
doing
so
that?
that's right when we get to the door. We always say strangers ring the doorbell, friends knock, and then I greet them and I let them know about the process right there that we're going to go inside. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my company, and then we're going to do a walk around, and then we're going to do our measurements. I'm going to go back to the car. We're going to print these things out, and then we're going to come in and we're going to show you why we're different.
Okay. Okay. And how are you coming in? That's another thing I know that you do that's so fantastic. So once I've
Yes.
kind of been set up how things are going to be, when are we going to link back up again?
Yeah, so I always ask them, I'm like, which door would you like me to come through? Because I'm setting the stage. I'm planting seeds in their brain that they know, oh, you are coming inside. The last guy did the quote out in the yard.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not like the other company. So we're
Yeah.
going to come inside. Which door would you like me to come through? Great. Oh, by the way, here's my company portfolio, which, guys, is my anchor to get into the door, right? We talk about all this stuff for many years, but this is getting into the door. So then we hand them that. We do the walk around. I go back. I do my measurements. And then they already know I'm coming back to get to the kitchen table. So we are setting a stage to get inside to do the presentation.
So I'm already reading the minds of the people who are watching this right now. And I don't know that we have time to get into every bit of it, but just uh, generally speaking,
Mhm.
this company portfolio that you speak of, what would be a few things that I would expect to see in the company portfolio?
Yeah, so it would be a list of your services because a lot of customers on average don't know all the services that you do as a company, right? So you have a list of your services, you have some testimonials in there, and that's pretty much it, really good before and after pictures, company photo with your team, letting them know who they're doing business with, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're watching this and you're expecting Pat to prescribe for you every detail of what you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Let's get this clear. You are an entrepreneur. If you're watching this class, you're an entrepreneur. You have the birthright of building a business that expands who you are and makes it better and makes it bigger so you can impact more people. So if you're looking to be more of Pat's, like, oh, well, Pat's successful, I want to be just like Pat. Well, we're teaching you some principles that are going to guide you, but we're trying to make more of you come alive. So if you want to put in the portfolio a cool write up about the breast cancer run that you did as a team together,
Yeah.
hey, sweet. If you want to put it in there, a picture of before and afters of your stuff, I think that can be great too. But it could be your mission and your values. It could be your the story behind the truck you drive. It could be whatever. But this portfolio is what you're handing the customer to say you're not doing business with some dude that's got a yard sign out saying he does $99 house washes. We are we are much more than that, which will prepare them for the part that we're about to show them. Should we get into the part where you're sitting at the table now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So anyone who is in this class has hopefully they've already downloaded the free gift that we gave them with this class, which is this really cool um, customizable PDF. You can upload your company logo, you can have all your company stuff in there, and then of course everything is customizable. You could you could print it out blank and fill it out with a pencil. That's not what I'm recommending. I think you can make it look a whole lot nicer if you just customize it right in the PDF and print it off, like Pat, you were talking about going back to the truck and printing out the proposal you're going to be giving. This is a bundled proposal sheet that is going to offer to the customer, in this case, 3 options of clean and a bunch of a la carte stuff. So I think there's so much to talk about on this sheet. The first thing we were going to talk about was the top sell principle. So this is an example of something that we've got set up. You want to talk about the top sell
Yeah, I
principle?
love the top sell principle because this really opens their eyes. It also takes their mind off of the price. You want to kind of blow them out of the water. So if you're a window cleaning company and you just quote windows, right, for $389, not really going to work, right? It seems pretty expensive. So what we call this is the top sell principle. So we might put a house wash on there, right? That might be $1,000 house wash. So you tell, Mr. Curt here, Mr. Curt. So, I know you called about your windows. We're going to go ahead and get your house cleaned because I noticed your house was getting, it's kind of changing colors on you. It's getting a little dirty. And if we clean your windows, the next rain, all that dirt's going to wash right back on your windows. So why don't we get everything treated at the same time?
Okay.
Right? So what we did here, Curt, for you was we put your house wash and then we have your window cleaning. And I also noticed a couple of things on your property. And the cool thing is, Curt, we have 3 different packages for you to choose from. So we kind of a la carte everything for you and then, no obligation. And so what we did was we put everything on here and we have your walkway on there. We also have the pool deck in the back. But what this does, guys, is it takes his mind off of the $389 windows And he's like, whoa, $1,000. And then we're gonna have a total package down here, as you can see, for just $3,000. I know that'll work for you, won't it, Curt?
I was not thinking when I called you over that I'd be looking at 3 grand. I
Oh,
figured a window cleaning would be like, 100 to 200 bucks. So you're kind of, I'm not sure if that's going to make it past the wife.
got it. But you see, with our professional equipment, chemicals, how long we've been in business, you can understand why our price is our price, right?
Yeah, certainly. You guys, the most professional company that's been here. I've already had a couple quotes, and you
Yeah.
guys are definitely different than the
Well,
other
I'd
people.
hate for somebody to come out, Kurt, and just put a pressure washer to your windows and clean your windows and bust your seals, and you're gonna have more of a headache kind of after the cleaning. It's gonna look like Zorro showed up after it dries.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Definitely something we'd have to take into consideration. Just a quick aside here. We
Mhm.
didn't say this explicitly, but as I'm looking at A, premium
Mhm.
bundle, right? One of the tactics that you use in the top sell principle is that I don't see bundle B or C, correct?
Correct. You cover those up.
Yeah. So I've got a business card strategically placed over B and C. And so the whole time that you've experienced Pat and I role playing this, and I'm being a very frugal person, right? You can see that Pat has camped out. And the only number I have in front of my face is this, in this case, 2416, but he used the number 3000, right? So if I've got 3000, which by the way does not have a dollar symbol in front of it, and I've got 604 is my savings with a dollar symbol in front of it, there is a lot of psychological stuff. And I hope you've kind of been kind of following along here that if you can imagine that I'm just looking at these numbers, no commas,
Yeah.
not when I'm making choices. I'm getting rid of all the digits possible. This is making it much easier for Pat to help him to really identify that, look, even if you're not going to choose package 8, we're going to camp out here. That's your words that you've always used. And
Yep.
you're going to help me understand that you're dealing with a company who doesn't flinch at doing a $3,000 cleaning. This is what we do. And
Yeah.
we love it. And people love it. And
Yep.
even if I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, like this is the first time I had any discomfort because I was anchored to a price. Before Pat walked in the door, I was anchored in my mind to the other quotes I got for $200,
Yeah.
right? So Pat is now anchoring me to 3 grand. Okay. Pat,
Yep.
anything to add to that as we're kind of going through this?
Yeah, so we're actually we're breaking their brain, right? So, and we kind of do this in reverse order. So we don't do what they called for. And I've seen this all the time. So again, going back to the struggle bus, you guys are going and you are doing the packages that they asked for. And you're like, but Kurt, yeah, I got you down here for package C for 697. But the cool thing is, Kurt, we got a deluxe bundle for 1,944 and then our premium for 2,416.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, right? You're
Yeah.
locked in. You're like, dude, $695. That sounds good, right? Or
Yeah.
they might be like, I really just want $300, man. Well, what
Yeah.
happens is you want to break their brain. You want to reverse engineer that. So you go to the biggest, the baddest price you can put on everything, right? I mean, this is
Mhm.
the gnome in the garden, guys. Like, if they
Yeah.
want the dog clean, dude, we're bringing the shampooer.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, you quote everything, and that's what this, package A is the big package. And then if that doesn't work for them, there's verbiage that you can use. And I want you guys to play with these a little bit. Like packages go way, way back. Kurt's invented these bad boys for you to get your average ticket up. And so play
Mhm.
with these and when you're going through these, but do it this way. You can't do it any other way, right? Like Kurt, you
Mhm.
were saying, there's science backed in here. There's things that we've done on here that work that is tried and true. And so you don't see commas in that, right? And then if they don't, that's way too big. Hey, not a problem. Here's our package. Remember I told you I was going to give you 3 different packages? And they're
Yeah.
like, well, I need to get 3 quotes. Well, Kurt, I just gave you 3 prices. Which one would you
Yeah.
like to go with today?
Yeah. Let's just finish this role play out because I'm gonna just push
Yeah.
hard enough against you that I'm gonna make you show how you would transition to the other bundles. But I hope you
Yes.
guys felt how magnetic it was when he was like, you can see why it would be worth it, right? Like as he's putting it out there, it's helping me to say, yeah, I mean, to do that kind of work, I mean, and the quality and all the things that you've talked about and save me from the hassles of Zorro and like destroying my seals. He's already kind of seeded all of that. but I don't have 20 or 3 grand in my budget right now, right? So Pat, I'm gonna just push against you. We'll move into like sort of your downsell cross sells, okay?
Yeah.
All
Curt,
right.
so I completely understand.
Yeah.
I can understand what you're saying there. I know we got the holidays coming up. Is that a thing? Do you need to get this done before the holidays? You got the in-laws coming in?
I do. My wife loves to impress people, and she's inviting as many people over to impress as possible. Yeah,
Oh, nice. So you got a timeline for this then for sure.
I do. Hmm.
All right. Well, let's look at some other options though. I know these are going to work for you. I'd love to get you on the schedule. Look, we're in high demand right now because we got Thanksgiving and holidays and Christmas. Like we got to get you on the schedule so we don't miss out, okay?
Okay.
So, let's look at this. So, I told you that $3,000 price, and the cool thing is, Curt, you caught it in time. Like I can tell you guys take care of your house. It's really clean. You caught it in time. So, you're not in level 3 at infestation. So let me show you. We have our package A right here, which is our premium bundle. So for just 2416, right? It shows the savings right here for you. So for just 2416, we can get everything treated for you. And I know your father-in-law is going to be impressed, dude, how clean you keep your house.
Yeah. I would love to impress them. The problem is just budget wise. I know that we've got a lot
Sure.
invested in some of the other stuff coming up this holiday season.
Mhm.
And I just, as much as we'd love to do it all, I don't think we can do it all right now. Is there
Okay.
something, can I do something maybe?
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
before I uncover these next two packages for you, what kind of, I don't want to say your budget number exactly, but what kind of were you thinking of price wise?
Well, I'll admit to you that the other package, the other bids I got were like $300, $250.
Sure.
But I don't necessarily, now that I've kind of seen all of what you guys are offering, I definitely have more to work with than that. I think that, if we're in the 15, $1,600 range, just,
Yep.
because I really don't want to have to replace my roof, and I'm, really worried that I'm going to do permanent damage to something at some point. Plus, with
Yeah.
everyone coming over, I really do want to do it more than just when, you brought up, the other people didn't bring up the fact that, yeah, get nice clean windows, but then the house looks like garbage all around. I didn't even think about that. So
Sure.
yeah, just show me what else you have, because
Yeah.
I think I could probably part with a little bit more. I think we could do more.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you said that because we really want to earn your business. We're really big on customer service. Like we said, our technicians are going to do a walk around with you at the very end, you and your wife, and make sure that you are completely happy. So let me show you right here. We got package B, which is our deluxe bundle. So what we did was we just took a couple services off. So you can kind of see here with the check marks. We have two services. So the driveway and the patio. I really felt like we can wait on those. But let's get the other services done for you, Curt, so you are happy. Your wife is happy, the in-laws are happy, everything's looking really good, and we can get that done just for a little bit more than what you were talking about for just 1944. We're going to get all that done for you. And let me stress to you, Curt. Look, we're in an unregulated industry. Anybody can go down to Home Depot and buy a pressure washer and say they're an exterior cleaning company, right?
Mhm.
We have years of experience behind our belt. We know, we've run into things. Your house is not a test house for us. We've done multiple houses just like yours and bigger. So I just want to put you at ease with that. So for 1944, no headaches. We're going to get in, get it done, and let you guys enjoy your holidays.
So we could continue. We have some other stuff to cover right now. So we could continue, and I would by the way just close here for me.
Yeah.
As I was going through there, I think that you guys could understand why I, as the customer, had just revealed to him that I could probably do $1,500, $1,600. It's definitely close enough that I could make the leap. I'm looking at that $486 price. It's like I'm getting my house wash almost for free at this point. There's a lot of
Yes.
reasons that I could justify it, and he's given me lots of good reasons to move forward. So I
I want
went
to be
from just,
clear too, Curt.
yeah,
Never go to their price, right? Like if you go a couple $100 more than their price, which a lot of times when you're packaging correctly, that is the case. When you do your package B, it's only a couple $100 more than what they like have in budget. You're gonna close on it. So don't be afraid. And I see a lot of people that were on the struggle bus. They're like, but Curt, for $1,944,
yeah.
dude, they're not
Or
gonna bite.
or if I was able to get this 1944 down to 1600, like you had said, maybe in your budget.
Mhm.
See, the thing is that that's not that's not what you're offering, right? And as the curator, it's your job. Now, make sure your prices are representative of the value you provide. I mean, that's another part of
Yes.
your job. But I just want to point out that he brought me above my budget, and I think he did it in a really good and ethical way, in a way that helped me understand the value he provided.
Mhm.
And as I reviewed my budget in my head, I thought to myself, yeah, this is something that I'm ready to pull the trigger on.
Yeah.
We have some other principles I want to go over. So as far as the top sell principle goes, I just want to summarize that I intentionally put myself in the mindset of someone who did not have 2,500 or 3 grand to spend. And so what I did was I allowed Pat to anchor me from that 200 to 300 that was previous. And he was successful in helping me to understand if I was going to do everything, my world could look a certain way with a certain company providing it for me. So those two things are very unique, very unicorn in that I can't just go around getting it anywhere else. That's an important part when they're comparing quotes. And then he helped me once I visualized that world, then he tied a price to it. And he even used words like, I'm sure you can see why, or I'm sure you understand why we have to charge that, because it's just so awkward. Because the real question that probably feels more comfortable coming out, but is very awkward for the customer is, um, you know, can you understand why we got to charge this kind of money? Like, we can't do it for the low price because we're a legit company. But instead he makes it really easy for the customer just to, yes, absorb, move on. I'm sure you can understand why we got to charge this. It's something. And it feels like it flows. I, as a customer, all I have to do is say yes in order to absorb that information. So top sell principle worked because now once I'm anchored to 2 or 3 grand, that 1944 ended up being something that I was like, you know what? That's actually what I've actually got to work with here. And I'm not going to end up spending 5 grand later to get my windows fixed. So very easy done. So Pat, anything else on the top sell principle you want to cover before we go to the next?
Nope, that's it. You wrapped it up.
Okay. So the anniversary date is something you brought up before, and you talked about how it's powerful. Let's just talk for a moment about why it's powerful and how to properly articulate it.
Yeah, and I think, with the anniversary date is you're more like, it's kind of resembles a pest control application. Like how often do you get your, service done? Once a month, right?
Yep.
And so with cleaning, it's the same thing. It's going to get dirty again. We know that. And so when you're setting up the anniversary date, you want everything to have the same anniversary date so it's easier for you as the cleaner. But remember, the homeowner doesn't know this. So the homeowner just thinks you're cleaning one surface, you're in, you're out, you're going to do it again later. Well, pass the savings on to them. So when I say anniversary date, that's everything. So it has the same date. And then that way you can do a maintenance type program with it. And I think that's the huge benefit of it.
And, maintenance, pest control is a type of maintenance. I think
Mhm.
an expensive maintenance that we can think of is that when you have your vehicle maintained regularly, you're not going to get stuck on the side of the road. So you know
Mhm.
that, yeah, I could just go get the oil change, but have I had the spark plugs checked? Has my radiator been flushed? Has my transmission been flushed? Like there's just so much more than just like
Yeah.
you have tos, right? And the nice thing on anniversary date, what it does for me when you say it, is I think if I know that every time I take my oil to get done, the guy who is behind the counter knows what date everything is and it's on the right schedule, it takes this friction that I'm just not going to ever keep up with, and it puts it on someone else who's keeping the records and knows what they're doing and is making sure everything's done at the right intervals. It's a lot of baggage with just the word anniversary, but for me, it resembles that, and it tells me not only am I only going to have to think about this decision now and move forward, but I won't have to worry about decisions later. So I'm actually saving
Yeah.
myself, not just bundling and saving money. I'm actually bundling and saving decision making, which maybe I'm unique. Maybe not every customer thinks this way, but as an entrepreneur, I make hundreds of decisions a day and it gets exhausting. So anytime someone, like if my wife comes in and says, Curt, my computer's broke. So what? An email won't send out, or like what do I got to go in and go figure out, right? Like, and then turns out, oh, it looks like you might need to plug in your laptop, hun. That could be the problem. You're out of battery. Oh, yeah, I guess it's not broken after all. Well, as an entrepreneur, when I'm dealing with all of these, like these little minor things that I've got to fix, you as the salesperson, can make this so seamless and fresh that the customer's like, hey,
Mhm.
check this out. I can just make one decision right now and be good to go. And that's just as valuable as the money in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's huge.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the last thing. We talked about packages and bundles. When you're designing your packages and bundles, we already saw how the top sell principle works. What are you as the curator doing to determine what goes into what package and what bundle? How are you going to put this together in a way that makes the most sense for a customer?
So it comes from experience, right? Like you need to have your sales guys ride with your technicians because, if you're doing a roof cleaning, a lot of times when I first started doing roof cleaning, I was doing a lot of free gutters because it would drip down the front of the dang gutter and the gutter was dirty, but they didn't want the gutters, right? They didn't want the gutters. So guess what? I had to do the dang gutters for free. So it took a lot of mistakes on my part, right, of doing free gutters to start charging for the dang gutters. So,
Mhm.
when you're bundling these packages, where's your chemical going to go? What's clean? What's dirty? What's going to make the biggest impact for the homeowner, right? On their, wow factor, if you will, curb appeal. And so you got to really back this from experience of what customers, want because customers were, humans are driven by, or I'm sorry, what's the word, Curt? Like humans do the same thing. There's a saying for it, right? Humans all
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's embarrassing. I can't think of
I
it.
know, I can't think of it. I just had it. But humans are, you know what I mean? Like we're conditioned to do the same thing. We're humans of habitat or habit.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the word, habit. So creatures of habit. Finally came around to it. So creatures of habit, right? So you'll notice that homeowners want the same things is what I'm getting at. And so when you're doing these house washes, what are they typically getting? You're going to bundle those together. And again, you're going to quote everything and then what they want and then what they call for. Is how you do the packages that make sense for them. And then for just a couple $100 more, they're like, oh, I get my gutters cleaned. Oh, I get my windows, whatever it is for you and your company and the way you're structured your services is going to determine your packages.
So everything, what they want, what they asked for. That's A,
Yes.
B, and C.
Yes.
Okay, and in ResponsiBid, we have a way you can like label the packages. So we call it the ultimate. Get everything. You could have all on the same anniversary date, and then you would give different subtitles, for example. So the what I would recommend would probably be that middle package. Like this is the everything, but I would say what we would recommend or most popular kind of thing, maybe in the middle package, and
Yep.
then you always want to call whatever they ask for. I mean, I guess there's always an exception to every rule, but pretty much everything is basic. Whatever they ask for is like the bare minimum, basic this, like bare bones.
Yeah.
Um, and I know a company that uses baseball, so they'll be like the home run, the double, the single, right? Something like that.
Yep.
And or even if you want to really think about it psychologically, the basic could be like the fly ball, right? Like we're just going to take care of the bare minimum. But this helps people move into the right mindset. And Pat, I've really appreciated everything you've shared today. This is really key. I'm curious. We're kind of running low on time, and I don't want this to turn into something that people have to overthink. But if we're going
Sure.
to discount as we bundle things together, bundle and save is there's a big driving force there.
Yeah.
What would you recommend? Is there a percentage or how do you determine a la carte price versus the bundled price?
Yeah. So, when I'm talking about bundle pricing for what they call for, I usually just have my minimum, right? No less than $450. And there sometimes isn't a discount, right? For what they call for. But you pass that savings on to them, we might do a 5 and 10%. So 5% for that middle package, 10% for everything. That way they can see that savings is typically where you want to start. Now, if you're, just getting into packages, play with it, you know what I mean? But you don't want to go, remember, like every percentage you take off is taken off your EBITDA, like your net profit, because you can add 15% in next year if you just don't discount 15%. So, think about your numbers. You need to know your numbers when you are pricing. If your prices are already low and you're discounting your prices, that's a bad recipe. So you really need to dial in. I remember, I'll tell this story, Curt. I had this top sales guy, and I would give him a new price sheet every Monday. And he's like, Pat, what's this? I said, it's just, a price sheet. We updated it, made it look a little prettier. Wink, wink, wink. No, up the price is 20%. Up the price is 30%, guys. And I didn't know what my market could bear because I was stuck in the online pricing. Oh, you got to charge 14 cents a square foot for house washing. You're on these forums and it's all BS, right? You have to know what your market can bear. And so, you need to have those prices up when you are packaging your pricing, okay? Because you can't just willy-nilly, all right, let's take 20% off. It's going to hurt you in the long run. So just do, small increments, and you can always go up a little bit, but increase your pricing too as you start getting successful, right? Track your numbers. When your close rate's coming up, increase your pricing, right? Because we have a saying, as Curt knows, like, I would rather do less work for more money. I would not want to do more work for less money, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So when you're doing this, make sure that your pricing is dialed in correctly, and obviously get with Curt or myself if you are working on these kinds of things.
Yeah, I'll offer an alternative view. I've had people talk about the fact that 5 and 10% isn't enough to financially motivate you and feel pinched. Like, I need to do something now if I'm going to save this money. So, not to say, like, obviously Pat's got a lot of experience here. When the numbers are pretty high, those dollars, you notice that I don't put percentages here on this sheet. We don't use percentages because people want to save dollars. They don't want to save a percent because I can't have a relationship with a percent money, right? So we put whole dollars here. And if 5 or 10% comes out to these numbers, well, by all means, like, people can form relationships with numbers that are meaningful. But if you're saving me $20, my relationship with $20 is that I can't fill my tank in my truck with it. I can't, there's a lot of things I can't do with $20, but $486 I can do something with, and $604 I certainly could do something with. So it's important to use whole numbers. And along the lines of what Pat was saying, it's very important that you understand whatever the price that you're going to be adding into a bundle for a particular service, that number needs to be true, that you can operate profitably at that number. The alternative is that if we're going to get people to move, we have to put ourselves in the mindset, I don't sell single services, I sell bundles, I sell packages. If you can get yourself to make that shift, it will allow you to have a lot more freedom and flexibility as you're pricing a la carte. You can see here in this amount column, everything here is priced a la carte, and we show $3,020 for all services. If you got everything that we have, it's $3,020. That number is an important anchor that you can use, but also keep in mind that these are prices if you buy a la carte. Now go back through your pricing and imagine I'm going to drive to this house and I'm going to do a house wash and I'm going to drive away. Does that number make sense anymore? Because if it doesn't, you better raise it to where it does. Same for all of these other services. These numbers need to stand alone as a la carte. And then when you come down to other prices where it makes sense once you bundle it together, you may find that you can offer a greater savings, but you may be a little uncomfortable with how much you're charging for single services. What that tells me is that when you're going out and doing single services right now, you're probably losing money every time you do it. So put yourself in this mindset. Oh, I'll do a single service for no less than, right, this many dollars, right? I'm going to price these out, and they're going to feel the pain of it. But I feel the pain of getting in my truck, loading it up, driving out to their house, doing one thing, and then driving back. So we got to share that pain, and we have to underline it, make it really clear here. But then when we start bundle pricing, you have a little more freedom, but that doesn't mean you just discount it to the bare bones. It means, okay, how much of that money that was in there can I remove because I'm not just driving out to do one thing anymore? And you may find that when you're doing a whole load of work, you might find that a la carte to bundle could be as much as 20% savings. You also might find that 15 or 10 makes more sense, whatever that is. But Pat said it best. You got to know your numbers. I just want to make sure you enter the mindset that we aren't trying to sell a la carte. And if you price them like you are trying to sell them, people are going to end up taking your finger off of this and putting it back over here. But that's not what we sell. We sell solutions. We're curators. So remember that as you are making those decisions. Pat, what do you think?
Love it. Dude, crushed it.
Sweet. Well, I think that as far as our class today goes, I think we've covered a lot of stuff, and people hopefully are feeling the importance of this winning sales strategy of putting stuff together. The top sell principle, the anniversary date, and packages and bundles, those are just tactics. The real strategy is entering that mindset that you are the curator. And I hope that you leave here and start taking notes of what you hate about what you're currently doing. That'll help drive you some motivation to do new things, and what you love that you learned here. And then try to put that into practices. You know, Pat said himself, just try a little here, try a little there, keep upping it, new sales sheet, see what the market will bear. Because at the end of the day, not only are you the curator of the services, but you're going to have to be the curator of what your market can actually bear and how to properly present it. So, Pat, thanks for spending the time with us today. I know people are going to get a ton out of this, and it is going to be hugely valuable. So,
Very welcome. Honored to be here, Curt.
all right. We'll see you guys in the next class, and you guys be good. We'll see you.
Take care.